Hi, I'm Shannon and welcome to Retire's Great. I'm going to show you how to grill a steak that's not only delicious, but is also healthy for you. And the reason I say healthy, and this part is really important, toxins can form when meat is placed on a hot grill. What happens are the amino acids in the meat are converted into something called HCAs, and these have been linked to an increased risk of cancer. I don't know about you, but for me, the best part of a good steak is that beautiful crispy singe, those grill lines. And that's the problem. All that tastiness is bad for you. So how do you cook a delicious steak that is still really healthy? Well, my first tip is use rosemary. The leaves have an amazing property of minimizing those HCAs. So the secret sauce is a rosemary marinade. Now you may notice we have our own rosemary plant. The reason is, actually they're easy to grow, and we use the leaves for almost everything we barbecue. Rosemary has antioxidant properties. Studies have shown that those nasty HCAs can be reduced or even eliminated. In addition, rosemary has a slightly piney taste that perfectly complements grilled meat. We also use avocado oil. It's one of the most healthiest. It has a high smoke point and it doesn't break down at high temperatures like olive oil would. I've already prepared our ingredients. 2 tablespoons of finely chopped rosemary leaves, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, and 1/4 teaspoon of fresh ground pepper. What we'll do is we'll add these to the oil. It's a 1/2 cup of the avocado oil, and we'll mix. Now these marinade, you can either make it up the night before and put it on your meat, or perhaps do it just the morning of and let it sit for the day. So we're just mixing it up now. We'll marinate the meat, and of course we will show you how it goes on the grill. Right now we'll just mix this up a little bit. Now avocado oil is basically almost tasteless, so it doesn't really add anything to the flavor. But again, as I said, it's a very healthy oil. So we're just going to liberally marinate here. What I'm going to do is flip these over. Now, the steaks that we're using are beef tenderloin. They're also known as filet mignon. It's a very lean cut of meat. There's not a lot of fat on it, but it's also very tender. I'm just going to drizzle this over, and we will leave this to soak for the day, and I will, just a few moments, share with you how we do it on the grill for that very healthy taste. Well, the steaks are marinated, the grill is preheated, and we're ready to start grilling. So you can see these steaks, how beautiful they look. The rosemary on them. This pan is really hot. And when I say hot, I mean really hot. The grill should be at least about 400 degrees. At that temperature, the juices get sealed into the steak. We'll do each side for about a minute. You might notice I'm using a cast iron frying pan. The biggest reason, it's way easier to clean. It's no fun scrubbing that grill. One of the worst things you could do is put a beautiful steak on an old cruddy grill. All that burnt crud and residue, well, it turns out it's really bad for you. I used to think grilling added a smoky taste. Talk about being misinformed. The smoke and the flare-ups, they're every little bit as bad for you. Again, another reason why I use a skillet. Mine has grilling ribs, which add those grill lines. After searing each side, I'll flip them again to get a nice crosshatch pattern. For the total time, it's around 4 minutes. If you have a thinner steak, well, at that point, it might be fully cooked. As ours are over 1 inch thick, well, it's going to be a little bit longer. The inside will still be rare to uncooked, and we'll finish them off at a lower temperature. It's been about a minute. I'm going to flip these. So a buddy of mine used to swear by cooking his steaks when they were still half frozen. He figured they were juicier that way. And when it comes to hamburger, pork, or chicken, that's really not a good idea. It's so easy to overcook the outside while the inside is undercooked. With our steaks, we took them out of the fridge and put them on the counter. After about half an hour, they warmed up to room temperature. This way, they cook more evenly. As you may have noticed, my wife and I, we absolutely love a good steak. But sometimes it feels like a guilty pleasure. After all, for years, we've heard of the perils of red meat. The experts suggest we should only eat white meat, such as chicken or fish. But we love our steaks. And it turns out red meat isn't that bad for you. It's a great source of iron and protein. In fact, research shows it's the processed meats that are the real problem. When you consider we've been eating meat since the caveman days, it all kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I'm going to flip it again, and this is where we get that crosshatch. That grill's really hot. So another question people often ask, is fat bad for you? When you think about it, a good ribeye or T-bone steak got a lot of marbleized fat running throughout the meat. That's what actually makes them so tender and flavorful. On the other hand, a leaner cut, such as ours, that's beef tenderloin, has far less fat. But does that make it healthier? Again, research reveals, in moderation, fat's not as bad as we've been led to believe. The only drawback is basically it's double the calories. So the answer is, it's a personal preference. It really depends upon what you like. During the winter months, we'll often grill a steak indoors. Again, we want to get a high heat to sear it, so we'll put it on the stove. But then we'll use the oven to slow cook it. That's when this frying pan really comes in handy. Now, because this is still so hot, this pan, I'm going to move it over to a lower temperature, and that's where we're going to let it start slow cooking. It'll still be hot for probably at least another minute or so. Now the lower heat, it helps fully cook the steaks. I have the grill on its lowest setting, which is about 200 degrees. Depending upon the thickness of the steak, what your temperature really is, and how well done you like it, it'll probably be another 3 to 8 minutes per side. By slowing everything down and cooking at a slower temperature, the meat cooks without as much risk of it burning. We really like our steak medium rare, and that's when they're still a little bit pinkish. Our finished product, a healthy, absolutely delicious steak. And we've also added some fairly healthy things to go with it. We've got mushrooms, baked potato, broccoli, and garlic toast, all with a very fine red Malbec wine.